Be ready. 5 seconds. Start. Sir, it gives me great pleasure to begin the budget speech for the financial year 2022-23 with an optimism outlook. We have begun to move forward again after facing acute and multiple crises. The survival and recovery of our society is a reality we are witnessing now. Public life is returning to normalcy as seen in the daily life of people traveling in carriages, moving across streets, children going to school, or people indulging in daily activities in places of worship, hotels, cinemas, etc. We are confident that this transition from solitude to togetherness will reflect in economic activity, leading to wealth creation and increased income for people and the state. When compared to the previous years, we believe that in the year 2022-23, the state's domestic production, employment opportunities, and tax collection will grow at an increased rate. I am happy to inform this august House that the average GST collection in the months of January-February 2022 has recorded a growth of 14.5%. This is a strong indication of economic recovery. However, this does not mean that the crisis has come to an end. There is still a possibility of a fourth wave of COVID. The current Russia-Ukraine conflict may spin off as a serious crisis of inflation and result in other economic challenges for the state. However, today we can confidently say that Kerala can face any crisis and succeed. While the challenges of climate change and natural disasters are receding, the threat of war and price rise are confronting the peace world over. Russia-Ukraine war has pushed the world towards a possible third world war with nuclear weapons. The possibility cannot be ruled out totally even now. The memories of Hiroshima and Nagasaki compel us to work towards peace. It is not possible to give an excuse that I am not willing to confront and adopt an isolationist attitude. Each one of us has to contribute our small bit. Let the first announcement in the budget for 2022-23 be towards this good gesture. Prominent peace workers and thinkers across the world will be assembled through seminars and discussions will be convened. Towards this, rupees 2 crore is earmarked. As the travel restrictions are being lifted, institutions in our small state of Kerala will take initiative for convening an in-person global peace conference on nuclear disarmament and world peace. I need to first point some information about the global economic crisis and its reasons. Before the emergence of the pandemic, the global economy and India were in the shadow of a recession. The income of common man was stolen and avaricious corporates increased their profit and capital, while the productivity of corporates increased it did not reflect in the income of common man. The major indication of this was the stockpiling of goods and not enough buyers for the same. Indian companies could produce only to a limited extent when compared to their installed capacity. The policy measures taken to overcome this crisis has made the farmers and laborers poorer. It is in this context that we are witnessing the historic protests of the farmers and laborers in India today. Governments continued their corporate appeasement policy even in the time of pandemic. While the economy witnessed unprecedented recession and destruction during the pandemic times, corporates recorded all-time high profits. Inequality increased. The policies which make the rich richer and poor poorer were ruthlessly implemented in many nations, including India. It was a shameful moment when India ranked high in inequity and poverty indicators. The pandemic has resulted in long-run negative consequences in economy and government's financial capacity. This is known as long economic COVID. Almost all nations lost about 2 years economic growth. India's domestic production has still not reached the pre-COVID levels. India has witnessed unparalleled employment loss during these times. The study conducted by Gulati Institute as per the directions of Government of Kerala has found that Kerala has witnessed large-scale loss in employment and revenue during this period. There must be strong government interventions to compensate the economic loss and decline sustained by the citizens during the pandemic. Demand in economy has to be increased by providing money in the hands of people. Inequity must be alleviated. Support must be extended to micro and small industrial enterprises. There must be large-scale investment in the infrastructure sector. Unfortunately, the central government is unwilling to take the remedial measures. We all were witness to how disappointing the central budget of 2022-23 was. Even in the context of inequity rising to an all-time high, the central government is unwilling to hike the income tax, corporate tax, and wealth tax. The central government is trying to reduce the fiscal deficit by enhancing the indirect taxes by including the surcharges on products like petroleum, which affect the common man. Simultaneously, the central government is trying to sell out public undertakings including LIC and transfer the public assets to private sector through programs like National Monetization Pipeline. The central government, which does not take any measures to overcome economic recession, also prevents the state governments from intervention. The central-state finance relationship has changed in a manner that the resources are for the central government while the developmental and welfare responsibilities vest with the state governments. With the introduction of GST, the state's tax domain shrank significantly. It needs to be mentioned that these transformations that weaken the federal system affects all the states and specifically Kerala in an adverse manner. The achievements of the state in livelihood indexes have been quoted repeatedly to reduce the tax share from the central pool. Additional details about the share of state from the central pool will be mentioned while presenting about the state's economy. Sir, I had intentionally mentioned about the globalization policies and central state government relations at the beginning of my address today. These policies are the root cause for most of the problems the economy is witnessing today. A plausible popular alternative could be developed only by reversing such policies. This was the approach adopted by the first Pinarayi government and continued by the current government.